We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. A playground for some. For others, it's where they make their living. But the sea's unpredictable. It can change in an instant.
The sea takes no prisoners. You always have to be prepared for the worst.
The sea is a beast. If you weren't anxious about it, you're not doing the right job.
The water was freezing.
I was thinking I was going to die.
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of over 5,000 ordinary people, ready to leave their jobs, their families, and race to our rescue.
Steady, steady. Go for it.
When the pagers go off, your heart stops. Is this a life and death situation?
There. In the water.
You're okay, pal.
Let go of the sail, mate. Let go of the sail.
Even that 1 second could make a huge difference to someone at home. 1 minute they've got a son or a daughter, the next minute they may not.
There we go. Emily, high five. Well done. Nice one.
I didn't think we'd get them back. I was just thinking, just please.
Are you the parents?
The lifeboat crew, without them, there's no doubt about it, we'd have lost our girls.
Equipped with their own cameras,
Am I switched on?
It's on.
the crews give us a unique insight into every call-out as only they see it.
Good stuff, that's it.
Speeding into the roughest storms, searching for people who may only have moments to live.
Gotcha.
For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
If something goes wrong, you could be the only person between them and death.
Like many old Victorian seaside resorts, Cleethorpes, nestled on the south bank of the River Humber in Lincolnshire, is undergoing something of a renaissance.
Cleethorpes on a good day in the summer when it's hot, it's fantastic. I have to pinch myself to remember that I live there. It's just full of people having fun and enjoying themselves.
Cleethorpes is a nice place, lovely seafront. I think that's why we get so many visitors.
The locals and everyone in and around our area take a lot of pride in the natural resource we have, which is a beach.
It's huge, the beach at Cleethorpes.
At low tide, there can be up to around 6 square miles of open beach for people to walk on.
Its position in the Humber estuary means Cleethorpes has a huge tidal range, rising almost 6 metres on average. In a few hours, the water races across over a mile of the beach.
In certain places, under certain conditions, the tide will advance across the beach as fast as a person can walk.
As well as the fast-moving tide, there are other dangers beachgoers need to be aware of.
There's always been patches of mud at Cleethorpes.
Because we're on an estuary, and naturally there is mud and silt in the area, the difficulty is it comes and goes.
It's very unpredictable. You can be walking on hard sand, and then within a couple of steps, you could be up to your knees in thick mud.
Late afternoon, midsummer. Cleethorpes is gearing up for another busy evening when the pager sounds.
It was bright, sunny, not much wind, there was plenty of people on the beach, and it was a sort of, oh, I wonder what this job is then.
News comes through from the Coast Guard that 2 people are stuck in mud at the north end of the beach.
We knew the tide was flooding at that point, so it's not a hang-about job, it's, yeah, let's get our skates on and get there quick.
Timing of all this was critical. We had very little time to get there before the people are totally submerged.
It takes 5 minutes to transport the D-class lifeboat down to the water. En route, the crews scour the coastline for any sign of the casualties.
See summer at the end, past the end of the road.
Yeah. As we were going across the beach, we were looking for clues that would give us a better idea of where they were.
As they start making their way up the coast, over the radio comes the news the crew most fear.
There was enough water at the time to navigate our way through the sandbanks to get there quickly. That in itself told me that the water was a real issue. If there was enough water for us to navigate there in the area we did, we knew that when we got there, the water would be close to where these people were stuck.
We came round the rocks and got that view of them.
Here we go.
2 people totally stuck in the mud, but the tide had advanced past them and they're in the water as well.
Happy for me and Matt to do the best.
Even when we got there, you could just see it touching. It was just on them then.
We probably had 20 minutes before the water would have covered their heads.
The crew make their way towards the casualties, trying not to sink into the soft mud underfoot.
We're all right here.
We've never got stuck ourselves yet. We spread our weight, we'll go in crawling, we'll go in sliding across the top of the mud. The fact that we're in dry suits and we've got life jackets on helps as well, because that makes us bigger and bulkier than we already are.
Hello. He's up to her waist. Just the look. OK.
The woman was up to her waist, so we knew she was stuck fast.
Are you sat down?
Yeah. The man, it looked like he was sat with her, but then realised he had one leg stuck. He might have tried to get out, but obviously he couldn't.
Right then.
On approach, the people were pleased to see us and quite jovial initially, and I don't think they understood the predicament and the danger that they were in.
Right, here we go.
Obviously didn't tell them that the tide's coming in quick and we need to get you out. We try and keep them calm as we can.
This leg's stuck in.
Just behind them on the rocks, we could see the high water mark and see how far above their heads the water was going to rise to.
You keep yourself up like that.
As the tide inexorably advances, the crew set to work.
Once somebody's trapped in the mud, once their leg's in, there's a suction, there's a vacuum behind. You can't just pull out because there's nothing to fill in behind. The mud's too thick to flow. So what we have to do is dig down and make a space for the air or for the seawater to get in underneath their foot that releases that trap that it's got on.
This left leg is going straight down. My arm is on his shin there.
It's not just a case of getting hold of somebody and pulling them out the mud. The pressures are far too strong.
We need to get the water underneath your foot. It's easy by hand, Robbo.
Working in mud is extremely physically demanding. It is simply hard work.
It's a terrible job, especially if there's water as well, because you can't see what you're doing.
Is that your foot I'm on there? Yeah.
Trying to move the mud away, and the tide is washing it back in.
That's all right, just keep a gentle pressure.
Feels like you're not getting anywhere.
Just a gentle pressure, don't slide straight.
If you stop, the hole's going to fill back up again, so you've just got to keep going.
My face was on the water, I was getting mud in my mouth, but you've just got to do what needs to be done.
That's it, there we go. There we go, right, what you...
After a few minutes, the crew managed to release the first casualty.
He was pinned down mainly by one leg, so he came out fairly quickly.
He's handed over to the Coast Guard team on the shore. With the sea still set to rise another 3 feet in the next 30 minutes, the crew now focus all their efforts on the second casualty.
Right, I've got hold of a toe.
As they was digging, I was trying to pull her as well, trying to get a bit of leverage on her.
Come in.
After 10 minutes of digging, one leg is freed from the mud.
The left one out.
But then we still had to get our other leg free, and that was well stuck. It was going straight down into the mud.
Right, I'm coming down the other side of the leg.
So Jamie and I took one side of the leg each to get as much mud away from her as possible.
Yeah. Keep moving. Keep going down.
She was getting a bit looser.
Yeah. So we got one underneath. Over there.
It was almost with a pop, like a champagne cork coming out of a bottle. She sort of flew out of the mud and landed backwards.
You all right?
But it was quite appropriate, really, because that pop was the sort of relief and celebration that everything was definitely going to be okay.
Oh, it's like you've won the lottery. The relief, yeah. You've saved somebody.
The casualties, they were muddy, they were wet, and they were cold. And even on a summer's day, if you're wet, you get cold very quickly. But the Coast Guard and the beach safety team were looking after them, and we knew that we could leave them to that bit of the job.
And we shot off and got rid of the mud. We were covered in mud.
So we steamed off out to deeper water, While I was waiting for the tractor to come and recover us, they all went over the side into the water.
All right.
Clean themselves off a bit.
The mud gets absolutely everywhere.
Here, come here. Now stop mine.
Gets in your boots, gets in your helmet, gets in your zip on your suits, gets everywhere.
That's the worst of it off. On the back of your jacket.
Back on dry land, the casualties got in touch with the station later that day.
They were embarrassed, which I don't think they needed to be. They'd just been out for a walk. I'd happened to step into the mud patch and just sunk really quickly up to the top of their thighs. They were just caught out. I think it could happen to anybody, but they expressed a lot of gratitude to us for being there for them.
On call 24 hours, 365 days a year. When the pager goes off, every volunteer knows the only thing to expect is the unexpected.
I would be afraid of the sea. It is very unpredictable and you never know what's going to happen. We can look at the tides and we can look at the wind direction and what it's expected to be, but you never know when you're out there how it could change.
Forecasts, they're only forecasts. You can't solely rely on them.
The sea is relentless. It's a creature of its own nature. You're sitting at the beach with your family having an ice cream and it's a nice sunny day, but you don't understand what's happening out there. And we see it all too frequently.
It's not like a piece of road where you can just pull your car up at the side. It's a constantly evolving environment, and that can catch a lot of people out.
Yeah, he doesn't seem too sure about being up front there, does he?
Things can change in a split second at sea, and that's why we would always say, if in doubt, get us out. It can look benign, but can be absolutely deadly.
The small fishing village of Appledore in North Devon lies where the Tor and Torridge rivers meet before they flow into the Atlantic in Biddeford Bay.
Appledore's quite a unique village, really scenic. A lot of people don't realise that Appledore's there, but once they've come, they always come back.
There's a magical pull to the area. It's a very friendly village, and it's different every day.
It's just a really lovely buzz and there's a great atmosphere in the summer and throughout the year.
But for all its chocolate box charm, the coast around Appledore holds hidden dangers. The lifeboat crew here responded to over 50 call-outs last year.
The coastline is very unpredictable.
For unsuspecting visitors, there's one hazard in particular lurking beneath the water. Where the Tor and Torridge rivers meet the sea lies Biddeford Bar, one of the most notorious sandbanks in the UK.
The water from the Tor and Torridge creates this big sandbar that stretches right across from Westwood Hoe Beach to Saunton Beach. For people to bring their boats in, they've got to come in at the right time. You know, you can't always access the estuary and Appledore by boat. So knowing the area is crucial.
It should only be attempted to be crossed 2 hours before and after high water. It's extremely dangerous, extremely fast running and shallow.
Over the years and the centuries, hundreds of boats have been wrecked on that bar and lives lost.
Five years ago, the Appledore crew were called out to 2 people whose boat had capsized near the Biddeford Bar. The crew rescued one of the casualties, but they couldn't save the other.
A really horrific afternoon. Don't think any of us will ever forget it. A huge tragedy to the village, to the whole community, their families, families of the crew even, because obviously they're the ones who picked us up at the end of it as well.
The boat involved in the tragedy now serves as a memorial in Appledore to lives lost at sea.
Coming back here, it makes you think about that day. It makes you feel sad that you couldn't help one, and it shows that you
You know, as much as you try, you can't save every single person. Sorry, I'm going to get a little bit emotional. I think every time we probably get a shout on the bar, I always think of what happened that day. I always think the worst and hope for the best to get yourself mentally prepared for it.
Midsummer, high temperatures and a low tide in Appledore.
When the pager went off, my friend had just come around to see me and the kids, so she looked after my kids for me whilst I ran out the door.
Very quickly, we were told that there was a yacht aground on the bar, which is a place that you seriously don't want to be at low water.
No one would be bringing a boat over the bar into the estuary, you know, at that state of tide. So straight away, you're thinking, something's not right.
We knew immediately where the yacht was and that it was in a dangerous situation. We could see it clearly from the crew room.
It's a yacht right on the bar, well, in the tail, just out here, like grounded.
Even more worrying is the fact there has been no mayday call from the yacht itself. Instead, the incident has been called in by a member of the public.
You start wondering what might have happened to the crew on board. Why have they not been able to make communication or send a mayday out when they're obviously in quite a bad situation?
There are just a few feet of water in the estuary to operate in. The crew launched their Atlantic 85 inshore lifeboat, highly manoeuvrable and adept at working in the shallows.
As we proceeded out of the estuary, we could see that the boat had come broadside to the breaking waves and was getting quite a hammering.
It had obviously grounded. It probably was a pretty scary situation to be in if you were on it.
The Atlantic 85 is capable of speeds of up to 35 knots. But despite the urgency, the crew have to proceed to the casualties with extreme caution.
We want to get there as quick as we can to get to them, but with it being low water, it takes us over double the time, really, to try and get out there.
A journey that would only take a few minutes at high tide today takes the crew almost 15.
See something to the starboard side. Yeah, it's like 2 people maybe.
As we got closer, we could make out there were people outside of the boat.
I can see 3 objects.
They always say you don't get off the boat unless it's sort of like the end. So we was quite surprised to see them.
I don't know if they're walking or if they're in. Are they in something? It's like they're rowing. Yeah.
The casualties have abandoned their yacht on the bar and are trying to get to shore in a small dinghy.
It was only when we got a bit closer we realised that there were sort of 3 people actually sort of like in the inflatable.
The tide's still going out, and the casualties risk being capsized by a large wave in the shallows or swept out to sea.
We could see as we got close that waves were hitting them and they weren't really making a lot of headway.
Are you the only 3? All of you? Yeah.
The crew need to get the casualties on board quickly, and they aren't the only ones in danger.
We actually had to get them to come to us because the water was just too shallow, and you know it would only take a wave to come through and us to get dumped on that sandbar, and we'd be in the same situation. And you've got 4 other people then that are in difficulty.
I think they were really relieved when they saw us. Very surprised as they hadn't made a call.
I reckon they'll make it, won't they?
They did all have life jackets on, which was a huge relief, but they were soaking wet, just in jeans and jumpers.
Oh. All right. Oh.
Just come up alongside, guys. On the set. Get your way up. Yeah, that's it.
You all right?
Where's the ground?
That's it. Just take my hand. That's it. You all right?
When we got the casualties onto the boat, they were really quiet, obviously in quite a lot of shock. by how quickly the situation had escalated.
In a very short space of time, they'd gone from being on their boat on a sunny day to ending up drenched, watching their boat about to be broken up. Our priority was to then make sure they were okay, no physical injuries, and then to make sure that they were kept warm.
Right, just pop this one over here. Just sort of like wrap it around, just keep the wind off a little bit.
The skipper had told me that he was very new to sailing.
They'd just purchased the boat and were sailing it round to its new home for the first time, stopping off at Appledore. But I think without navigation aids or charts, didn't know the dangers of the local waters, and then attempted to cross the bar at low water.
I just always wanted to try sailing and took a course, and I really liked it. And I thought, I know enough to be sailing on my own, and I thought instead of taking more courses, I can just buy a small boat to start with and learn sailing myself.
Lucas, his girlfriend Ernesta, and a friend planned a 6-day trip to bring the new boat from Swansea to Portsmouth.
Weather was nice, actually, sunny, not too strong wind, not too big waves. Everything, all conditions for sailing was perfect. On the way into Appledore, when I saw breaking waves on my starboard side, I realized that that water is too shallow for us probably to get in, and just in matters of seconds, we was hit by a breaking wave on the side of the boat, and we just capsized, tipped over.
It was like a car crash, I think. 1 second we were sailing all nicely, and the next one we just hit the sandbank. So it was just a matter of seconds.
I never had a chance to call a Coast Guard on the radio because we was tipping so much, and it was quite dangerous to go inside the boat, risking slipping or tripping, hitting the head, knocking yourself out. So my plan was drop the anchor and jump into the dinghy and start rowing to the beach, to the shore.
They were extremely lucky that someone had seen them. Things could have changed dramatically very quickly.
An hour after running aground on Biddeford Bar, the 3 casualties finally reached the safety of Appledore.
When we jumped into the dinghy, I was able to see the beach, and it looked not that far away, and I thought we could row to there. But when I was on that beach, looking into the direction where our boat was, I understood that we didn't have a chance to row back to the beach.
I don't think they quite appreciated the danger they were in. They would have headed for the nearest bit of dry land, and they could easily have found themselves, washed further out to sea, washed into deeper water, with a real risk of drowning.
Okay, so if you all move that way to go out in a second, and then they'll sort of warm you up, get you a drink, and get you something dry to put on.
They gave us warm clothes, hot tea and coffees, hot shower. Some guy from the station even offered us to dry our clothes in his home, in his house. And that's what he did. They helped us a lot with everything.
Of the 238 lifeboat stations around the UK and Ireland, 46 of them are in Scotland. In the village of Drumnadrochit, deep in the heart of the Highlands, lies Scotland's only inland lifeboat station. It sits on the western shore of legendary Loch Ness.
Loch Ness is a huge body of water I like to compare it to something like the Grand Canyon. It's that much of a landmark for Scotland.
It's known all over the world for having the monster, so if anyone doesn't believe in it, just come and have a look for yourself, and we'll see.
I haven't seen Nessie yet, no. I've seen branches and things in the loch that maybe look a little bit like Nessie, but no sightings here yet.
It's just a very eerie place, and that's spooky enough for me. I don't need any monster. It's a big, black loch.
23 miles long and 1 mile wide, Loch Ness contains more fresh water than all of the lakes and reservoirs of England and Wales combined. Sinking to depths of up to 230 metres, the water is bitterly cold all year round, rarely rising above 6 degrees.
If you were caught out on Loch Ness, you could be forgiven for thinking, like, oh, the shore's within swimming distance. As soon as you hit that water, though, you would regret it. If you go into the water in the summer on Loch Ness, you're going to know about it.
The unpredictable conditions here can catch out locals and tourists alike. Last year, the crew responded to 23 call-outs.
Within minutes, you go from having a placid loch to a raging loch with 7 to 10 foot waves. The loch is a dangerous body of water and it changes very rapidly.
A warm summer's day in July. The station's newest recruit, David, is being put through his paces.
I was down at the station undertaking some assessments with our trainer assessor. He was basically making sure that I was seaworthy to go out on shouts.
We had just finished doing his fitness test, which would clear him to be allowed to go to sea on service, and lo and behold, the pager went almost straight away.
That was the first time I heard my pager going off when I was at the station, and the wave of nervousness hit me instantaneously.
The first information we got was a yacht that was drifting with apparently nobody on it, and it was just dragging its anchor. It wasn't that far away from the station at all. As I was getting kitted, it literally drifted right across the front of the station, so we weren't going that far.
With crew already at the station, they launch in just a few minutes.
There was no time to think about what's my first shout going to be. It was just, bang, here you go. I was the one boarding the vessel to see if there was anyone about on it.
There was nobody on board when David went there. It was deemed that it was drifting at a steady pace to no danger.
News comes through that the yacht's owners are on their way to secure their boat. Just as David gets back onto the lifeboat, another call comes in over the radio.
When the Coast Guard came through and said, we've got a dismasted yacht further down the loch we'd like you to go deal with, there was a young family on board as well, so there was children on the yacht as well, so I thought, right, just need to crack on and go get this one done.
The dismasted yacht is 10 miles south from the station. The crew have no idea if there are any injuries or if the family is still on the boat.
When the mast collapses, it could be fatal. The mast itself could damage the hull integrity as well. You could start taking on water. I wouldn't want to be in a boat that the mast was falling down on anyway, put it that way.
The crew push their Atlantic B-class to its top speed.
I hadn't really encountered a boat going at any great speed before. All of a sudden, we're really gunning it down the loch, so it was a real introduction for me.
But as the crew venture further down the loch, the conditions start to deteriorate.
It took all of 10 minutes for it to go from flat, calm and sunny to not the worst weather I've been in, but certainly you had to start thinking about it. The waves on Loch Ness are short and steep, which is a bit of a pain in the backside to try and drive a boat through at any kind of speed. You're just constantly slamming into the next wave after the next wave.
After 17 minutes, the crew spot the stricken yacht drifting in the middle of the loch, with the families still on board.
They just looked miserable, to be honest with you. They looked very close to being seasick. I wasn't far off myself, to be honest.
In literally 2 seconds, the whole holiday changed. It was going quite nice, and then the next minute, you got a sort of full-on emergency, which you didn't really expect to have in Loch Ness.
Experienced sailor Phil, his wife, Naomi, and their 2 daughters were on the 4th day of their week-long family holiday.
We decided to go sailing, mainly for me to try and introduce it to the family in a reasonably safe condition, so not out on big rolling waves, because one of the biggest concerns from the family was them getting seasick and things like that.
I was a bit nervous about going sailing. I've never been before, so it's a whole totally different experience.
I didn't really expect it to be that good because it was like really fun. I've never done anything like that before. All of a sudden there was just this massive bang. I sort of fell over, I was like laying down, and my mum literally dragged me onto the safe bit of the boat.
All the metal sort of shrouds and all that whistling past us, and then the next minute it's all overboard, and by sheer luck it missed every single one of us, which was a small miracle in itself.
All sorts was going through my head. We were gonna sink, the engine was gonna blow up.
Unable to start the engine for fear of getting the rigging caught in the propeller, Phil called the emergency services.
You saw the lifeboat from quite a long way off because it was moving at speed. You could see the sort of wake flying off it, so we knew what it was straight away.
They all had life jackets on, which was actually really nice and refreshing. It's not often you see that, believe it or not. And the skipper had already done a really good job of lashing the mast to the side of the yacht as well. So he'd made it really secure for us.
To assess the damage, Linda and David must leave the safety of the lifeboat and board the yacht.
I put Linda on board first.
Every so often, the lifeboat seemed to go sort of lower and higher, and you really don't want to fall in between the 2 boats. That is a no-no.
Linda managed it, no problem at all.
Next is the turn of new recruit David.
It was a challenge to get on board. The waves were really bouncing boat.
Poor David on his first shout. A little bit of a stumble when he got on, but he recovered quickly, that's what matters.
Safely on board, the crew find that the mast of the hired yacht has been ripped out of its fixing. With its sail dragging in the water, the yacht is in danger of capsizing.
The 3 of us was trying to pull all the rigging back on board. We had a few goes in that, but at that point, the person who's overall in charge was on the rib. He just says, "Look, I'm sorry about your yacht, but I think we're gonna have to chop all the rigging off and send it to the bottom." And I was like, "I don't care. It's not my yacht. Give us the knife. I'll do it myself."
The decision was taken to drop that mast into the water and see then if the engines were free.
Cutting the rigging from the mast carries its own risks.
With the mast being as heavy as it was and full of water, the wires could have sprang up and hit them in the face, so I made sure the visors were down on the helmets.
It was physically challenging. The boat was being thrown up and down.
I particularly struggled working in those conditions. I just tried to talk to the family, tell them that everything was going to be okay. We had it under control.
I think he was feeling a bit seasick. It was quite funny because he was looking a bit pasty, and I suffered with that myself, but I was actually better than he was. But yeah, no, they jumped on and they took control of it very well and made sure we was all right.
Finally, after almost 20 minutes struggling to cut the mast away from its rigging, they sever the last few wires.
Eventually, the mast went, and I remember at that point, Nessie gained address because the sails are still down there.
The skipper, we got him to make sure there was nothing around the propellers. Told him, start your engine, go ahead a little bit, go astern a little bit, make sure there's nothing around the propeller. There didn't seem to be any issues. There was no fill, anything like that. So yeah, the skipper gave us a thumbs up, and so we just said to the Coast Guard, yeah, we're more than happy to let this yacht continue on itself.
The speed was getting pushed on shore. We'd have definitely been aground without a shadow of a doubt. They came out, helped us in our hour of need, did a great job.
Whoever's up there looking down on us is, you know, a very lucky family.
It was a real buzz, a real excitement to have my first shout. It felt like I'd completed my apprenticeship. The knowledge that I'm there and can help people if they need help, it's a privilege, it really is.
A 100 miles southeast of Loch Ness, the seaside resort of Kinghorn stands on the north shore of the Firth of Forth, 6 miles across the estuary from Edinburgh.
Kinghorn's a nice, quiet town. It's a great place to live. We've got the beach on one side, the countryside on the other.
It's a beautiful part of Scotland. Very good community in Kinghorn. Really good for children to grow up. Really good for my wee boy, Harris.
Police officer Paul has been part of the Kinghorn crew since he moved here 5 years ago.
Obviously, I get a lot of job satisfaction in my day-to-day work in the police, but the RNLI, to me, it supersedes that. You might not be saving people's lives all the time, but if you're helping someone that's in need, it's one of the best feelings, to me, you'll ever have.
With its miles of sandy beaches, Kinghorn is also the perfect location for the four-legged member of Paul's family.
I have a collie husky cross. Missy's her name. To me, she's a beautiful dog. I love dogs.
Missy, stay, sit.
All they ask for is some attention, to be fed and to be walked. Not much more than that. Dogs are brilliant animals.
Late September, Paul and Missy are back from their morning walk.
When the pager went off, I was at home. I got my shoes on, ran down to the station.
The information we had was a dog cut off at Kilkenzie Power Station.
It's reported that the dog is trapped near the waterline of a disused power station, 9 miles away across the estuary.
It's just a case of let's get over there, get the animal safe.
In calm conditions, the crew launched their Atlantic 85 lifeboat.
If you get called to a dog, or any other animal for that matter, that's in trouble, we treat a call just the same as if it was for a person. So it's important we get there quickly.
Still aware it was going to be scared. Very strange environment, couldn't get to its sonar. Whether it was injured or unable to rescue itself, we didn't know.
15 minutes after launching, the crew arrive at the power station. As with any old industrial site, they must proceed with caution.
The location where we had to go into was unknown, so it was a feel our way forwards, just keeping a close eye on the depth gauge.
Obviously the risks of that is grounding the boat, damaging the boat, which we can't do.
Once we were happy the water was deep enough, we then moved in.
The dog was just walking up along this ledge, constantly looking for a way out. I was like, all right, okay. How did you get there?
Oh, see if you got a GP rope, tie it.
I was obviously confused, scared, nervous. It's a shame.
He'd obviously fallen quite a distance. If he'd landed on the weir itself, I think he would have had serious injuries. So I think he must have landed in the water, climbed onto the weir afterwards.
Here, come on, come on, come on.
It wasn't until we kind of got the boat right in alongside the ledge that I was aware that the owner was there as well.
How friendly is it?
That morning we had just popped out for a 10-minute quick walk down to the beach, and we decided to just extend the walk a bit further.
Jen, along with her Labrador Staffy Cross, had recently moved to the area and decided to explore the path by the old power station.
We got to this corner and I'd stopped to have a look over the wall to see what was down below, having never walked down before. And suddenly this black flying flash came over the side of me and tried to land on top of the wall, just slid right down and disappeared over the edge. And there was what felt like a 30-second gap until I'd heard him splash in the water. And then a million thoughts. Thankfully, he jumped at the one point where he could land safely in water.
Jen watched helplessly as her dog managed to scramble up onto the weir 10 metres below her.
He's a priceless dog. I'd be lost if he was gone. And I actually can't imagine not having him around. I'd leave a big empty hole if he wasn't there. At that point, I've maybe had a tear, wondering how I was going to get him back. And then thought, I'm going to have to call emergency services. I'm absolutely mortified to be that person calling people out to save their dog, but that is going to have to be me.
Come on then, come on.
Now on scene, it's agreed that one crew member is particularly well qualified to retrieve the dog from the weir.
I'll be fine. I like dogs. I'm confident enough around them. A lot of people are scared of dogs. So I just thought, yeah, I'll do it.
Come on, in you come on.
But the Coast Guard shouted down to us the dog's name.
Toffee!
What it sounded to me was they shouted back, Toffee.
Toffee! Here, Toffee, here.
So we went with Toffee.
Come on, in, Toffee. Come on.
Subsequently found out it's actually coffee.
But C-T, that's fine.
Toffee, come on.
Coffee didn't have a lead on him, it was just a collar, so decided to take a rope with us, one of our general purpose ropes, in the hope that I'd be able to use it as a makeshift lead.
Come on. Good boy, come on. Good boy, come on in. Come on.
I was hoping that the dog wasn't going to attack me. I was very concerned the dog could get aggressive. It's out of fear, stress, all the noise.
What's this? What's this? Good boy, come on, you're all right. Good boy.
He's quite a nervous dog, and he's quite nervous of their men's voice, so this was definitely his worst nightmare, being stuck in the sea and having people all geared up with helmets and protective gear, life jackets and such unfamiliar equipment coming towards him.
Oh, come closer, come on.
Yeah, he was nervous, he was shaking.
Yeah. Look, what's this? Smell this? Come on then.
Could tell that he was stressing out.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Toffee. Come on. Good boy. Come on. Come on, you're all right. We've made friends. We've made friends. Come on.
Every few steps I was trying to reassure as best I could and making friends with him, really.
You all right? Come on, you're all right?
I got the impression Coffee knew we were there to help. Thankfully, we'd made friends, so yeah, no, he was fine with me. A beautiful dog.
Good boy, come on then. Come on then. Right, you're gonna go for a big jump on the boat. Come on.
Huge relief when we got him on board. To know he was safe and that he wasn't going to come to any further harm, and you know, his owner was going to get him back safe and sound in one piece.
Yeah. Oh, you paw. Oh, good boy. Other paw? No, just what paw?
He got a good bit of attention from us. We're all obviously all animal lovers, so we're happy to be able to help him out of his situation.
I got the sense that Coffee was thankful for us rescuing him. Obviously, you can't say thank you being a dog, but I just got that feeling. Thankful dog.
It was nice seeing the care that they had for, even though it's an animal and it's normally humans they're picking up. I don't think I could say thanks enough times to cover how grateful I am for what they did that day.
A 175 miles north of Kinghorn, Thurso is the most northerly town of the British mainland. A lifeboat station was established here in 1860, and its 23-strong crew patrol some of the most treacherous waters in the whole of the UK.
You could have people that know the area really well, but the sea will always throw something up that you're not ready for.
I reckon I see there is a nasty streak to it. You just kind of have to watch your back, really.
It's a challenge every time you go out because you don't know what you're going to.
One shout that the Thurso crew tackled 20 years ago made headlines all across the UK. Friday the 19th of March 1999 is a day that's burnt indelibly into the memory of locals and crew members alike.
A pager went off about, I would say, 3:15, 3:15, something like that.
It wasn't a pleasant morning that morning. Lots of wind on the go. Didn't really know what we're going to. When a pager goes, you just turn up and it could be anything. And it turned out it was quite a major one this time.
About 600 people from villages close to Dunnet Head on the north coast of Scotland have been moved from their homes after a fire broke out on board a chemical tanker off the coast. Residents have been warned that the vessel may drift ashore with the possibility of a massive explosion.
The engine room of the 334-foot multi-tanker Scania is on fire. Powerless, it's drifting towards the shore with 14 crew members on board. Its cargo is 1,750 tons of the highly flammable chemical vinyl acetate.
Poor weather it was. And a chemical tanker on fire, I mean, you wonder what you're going to be able to do here, like.
The Thurso crew launched their Arran class, a high-speed all-weather lifeboat phased out in 2009.
Well, we always thought the Arran was the best boat in the fleet, which it was. It was 5243, Queen Mother. A very capable boat in its day.
It's renowned for being a powerful workhorse of a boat. Today, the 8-man crew are going to need all the help they can get.
Once we rounded Holborn Head, we were into about a force 8, force 9, and a heavy swell. So it wasn't a very nice passage.
Our lifeboat's only 52 feet. It's probably just nearly the same size as their wheelhouse. It was big to see, yeah.
When we arrived, we tried to assess the situation with fire and smoke and whatever was going on with the ship. Spoke to the captain, and he explained to us properly what his problem was.
For now, the fire is contained in the engine room, but the ship has lost all power and, unable to anchor securely, is at the mercy of the elements.
The boat was adrift, drifting in towards Dunnet Head, which we thought it was going to go ashore at.
It must have been under half a mile. Yeah, he must have been under half a mile.
A tugboat has been called out from the neighbouring Orkney Islands. An RAF Sea search and rescue helicopter has been scrambled from Lossiemouth, 65 miles away, to evacuate the crew.
There was helicopters scrambled, and the helicopter took the crew off, all apart from the captain. He was left on board.
We could see smoke coming from the ship. Don't know how we felt, but we all had a look at each other and decided we better get moving.
The The Escania is now moving steadily towards the rocks. The tug manages to secure a tow line, but it soon snaps under the strain. Despite the dangers, the Thurso lifeboat moves in even closer.
A tow rope was lying floating in the water, and we managed to pick it up with our grappling iron. There wasn't a lot of rope in the water when we were pretty close to them when we were towing them.
In a force 9 gale and huge seas, the 31-ton lifeboat attempts to hold the Escania. Fully laden with its cargo, this ship weighs a total of 4,580 tons, nearly 150 times the weight of the Arran class.
Very unsure. We'd never towed a hen that big before, so it was unknown what the outcome was going to be.
At some stages, it was just like being on the end of an elastic band. And to keep that under control, it wasn't very easy.
At the time, we always thought there was something wrong with our boat because every now and again we'd go shooting backwards. It was just the sheer weight of the ship dragging us back through, and we were probably on full throttle at the time towing.
When you're towing something, if there can be a devastation with stuff like that going ashore, it's kind of worrying, you know? But we managed.
Just 400 meters away from the shore, the lifeboat finally starts to pull the Escania away from the rocks.
Once we established the tow, I think the tide turned a wee bit, which helped us as well. And we did manage to get maybe a mile and a half offshore, and then he dropped his anchor at the same time, and it decided to hold.
But had we not been there and took the tow when we did take the tow, the boat would have been ashore. And there's every chance it could have ruptured on the rocks, stuff could have come out. It's very serious for the amount of people that would have been involved and the kind of damage it would have done and what it would have done to the air, and just deadly.
Once the Escania was securely anchored a safe distance offshore, its captain was airlifted off by a helicopter. The engine room was flooded to contain the fire, which burnt out over the next 24 hours.
It was a big relief for us and probably a big relief for the captain. Yeah, and big relief for everybody.
The coxswain on that day was the late Billy Farquhar, a local pilot boat skipper who served on the Thurso lifeboat for 32 years.
He was a gentleman, Billy. He taught me an awful lot of things about the sea. Billy was one of those coxswains that he could handle a boat, he could turn around a sixpence. He was a good seaman, Billy.
Billy Farquhar at the time, very experienced guy. I was probably the youngest crewman, so I was looking up to that guy to see how things were, you know, on poor weather shouts, and he certainly worked hard that night for his shout.
Billy's skill and bravery that day was formally recognised by the RNLI.
Billy got a bronze medal. At the time, we all thought it should have been a bit more for towing such a big ship with a cargo, but somebody in RNLI decided it was a bronze, so he was happy enough for a bronze.
Oh yeah, we were delighted to get it, but we're not in it to be getting medals. And it was just another job as far as we were concerned.
Back in Appledore, Lucas has been able to recover his yacht and is now looking ahead to his next adventure.
The boat is now on the dry dock, working on the boat, fixing it. I was thinking the boat is not going to be fixed. I was thinking there's going to be holes in hull, Cracks everywhere, but there was no big damage at all. I'm just working hard on the boat, trying to fix it and get that boat back in the water as quick as possible.
I hope that he goes back out and enjoys it. And I think as an experience like that, not a very nice one, I think he'll definitely learn from it and hopefully go on to be a stronger sailor.
That's how life's supposed to do now. Every dangerous thing should affect you positively. I mean, everything what scares you is like the thing you have to do now.
Up in Kinghorn, Jen is making the most of her second chance with Coffee the dog.
We're doing great. We don't quite go round the full walk that we did that day, but we do go along part of the route. When we get near the place where he went over the wall, definitely likes to pull and get past that one part a lot quicker than the rest of the walk. Do a nice beg. Gentle. He shook it off and like it had never happened, and just he's carried on as if he had no traumatic event. Can you just spin? Good boy. He means the world and an extra half a world. He's there in the morning, he's there at night, and phenomenally luckily the crew they saved his life, and I don't know how to put it into words what they did for me. They saved part of your heart. Come on, Coffee. Let's get home.